Have you ever stopped to think about what actually happens the moment you click Print on your computer or phone? It feels so simple. You press a button, and a few seconds later, words and images appear on paper as if by magic. But behind that click is an incredible sequence of events. Electrical signals, tiny mechanisms, bursts of heat, sprays of ink, and even lasers working in perfect harmony. By the time we're done here, you'll know exactly what happens every time you send something to a printer. And once you understand it, you'll never look at that whirring box in the corner of your desk the same way again. Let's start with the action itself. You finish typing a document, maybe a report or an essay, and you hit Print. At that instant, your computer takes all the text, images, and formatting and translates them into a language the printer can understand. You might think your printer just reads what's on your screen. But no. The printer doesn't think in letters and colors the way you do. It only understands precise instructions, streams of data that tell it where to place dots of ink or toner on a sheet of paper. Your computer packages this information, often as a file using something called a print spooler, and sends it off, either through a cable or wirelessly. And that's just the beginning. Imagine a mailman carrying a sealed envelope. The moment you click Print, your computer becomes that mailman, sending instructions through the network or cable to the printer. Once those instructions arrive, the printer gets to work. Inside, a microprocessor takes the data and begins planning the print job, almost like a conductor preparing musicians for a performance. Every movement of ink, every rotation of a roller, every burst of heat is choreographed down to the millisecond. You don't see it, but the printer is already buzzing with activity before the first sheet even moves. Now, let's focus on the paper. You might not notice it, but the paper path is one of the most important parts of the entire process. Inside the printer are rollers designed to grab a single sheet from the stack and feed it into the machine. That may sound easy, but it requires incredible precision. Pull too many sheets at once, and the printer jams. Pull too few, and nothing happens. So the rollers grip with just the right amount of friction, advancing the paper like a ticket through a slot. As soon as that paper enters, sensors make sure it's aligned perfectly, because even a fraction of a millimeter of misalignment would ruin the print. All this happens in silence, hidden under the plastic cover, as you stand there waiting. At this point, the magic depends on what type of printer you're using. Let's start with inkjet printers, the kind many people have at home. An inkjet works by spraying thousands of microscopic drops of ink directly onto the paper. The printhead, which is a tiny rectangular piece filled with nozzles, sweeps back and forth across the page. As it moves, it sprays ink in carefully timed bursts. The nozzles are so small that each drop is smaller than the width of a human hair. And yet, millions of these drops land exactly where they need to, creating sharp letters and vibrant images. Think about that. A photograph printed in full color isn't just one image. It's millions of microscopic dots, overlapping and blending, tricking your eyes into seeing smooth shades. Now let's look at laser printers, often used in offices. A laser printer works completely differently. Instead of spraying ink, it uses static electricity and heat. Inside the machine is a drum, a cylindrical piece coated with a special material. A laser beam scans across this drum, drawing an invisible version of your page using electric charges. Wherever the laser touches, the drum becomes charged. Then, powdered toner, a very fine plastic powder, sticks to those charged areas. Imagine shaking sugar onto a sticky surface. The sugar clings only where it's sticky. That's what toner does. Once the pattern is complete, the drum presses the toner onto the paper. But here's the key. The toner isn't ink, it's powder. So the printer then uses heat and pressure to melt it permanently into the fibers of the paper. That's why pages from a laser printer sometimes feel warm when they first come out. You're literally holding paper that just went through a miniature oven. Think about the timing of all this. From the moment the paper starts moving to the moment it comes out printed, only seconds pass. Yet in those seconds, your document has been converted into data, translated into instructions, sprayed as microscopic droplets, or drawn with lasers, fused with heat, and rolled out for you to grab. It's an orchestra of mechanics, chemistry, and electronics working so smoothly that you never notice the complexity. You just see the result. Let me tell you a quick story to highlight the precision. In the 1980s, when inkjet printers first became common, people were amazed by how sharp they looked compared to older dot matrix printers. Those older machines literally hammered tiny pins into an ink ribbon, stamping dots onto paper. They were loud, slow, and clunky. Then inkjet came along, almost silent, spraying drops invisible to the naked eye, creating lifelike images. The leap was so dramatic that it felt like magic. But behind that leap were decades of research into fluid dynamics, materials, and tiny nozzles that wouldn't clog. It wasn't magic. It was engineering, hidden in plain sight. Now, let's go back to you standing in front of your printer. You send a photo, and it comes out on glossy paper, full of colors. What you don't see is the layering process. In color printing, whether inkjet or laser, the image is built up using just 4 colors: cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. By mixing these in precise amounts, the printer can create millions of shades. It's the same trick painters use with primary colors, but done at microscopic speed. As the page moves, each layer is added, building the final image. To you, it looks like a smooth picture, but under a microscope, you'd see a mosaic of tiny dots in 4 colors, blending into what your brain interprets as a photo. Another hidden detail is communication. Your printer and computer don't just talk once. They keep exchanging signals during the process. The printer confirms it received the data. It checks if there's paper loaded. It checks ink or toner levels. If anything is wrong, it sends an error back, flashing a message like paper jam or low ink. This back and forth ensures you don't waste time waiting for a job that can be completed. It's easy to get frustrated when a printer refuses to work, but in reality, it's protecting your data and your pages by refusing to start until conditions are right. And let's not forget maintenance. Every time you print, the machine keeps itself clean in small ways. Inkjet printers run little cycles to clear clogged nozzles. Laser printers occasionally rotate their drums to keep toner evenly distributed. Even when idle, printers are quietly caring for themselves, preparing for the next job. That's why you sometimes hear yours whirring even when you didn't ask it to print. It's alive in the background, always ready. But here's something most people don't realize. Printing isn't just about mechanics. It's also about economics. Printer manufacturers often sell the machines at low prices, sometimes at a loss, because the real profit comes from ink and toner. That's why cartridges feel expensive compared to the printer itself. The design of the printer is a gateway, and the ink is the fuel that keeps it running. Entire business models are built on this cycle, turning printers into something more than just office tools. They're part of a massive global industry. And here's a curious twist. Even in our digital age, printing hasn't vanished. We still print contracts, tickets, labels, and photographs. There's something about holding a physical page that digital screens can't replace. And that's why printers continue to evolve. Today's high-end machines can print not only documents, but also 3D objects, layering plastic instead of ink, creating shapes instead of letters. The same principles, precision placement, Layering, heat, and data translation have simply expanded into new forms. In a way, every time you hit print, you're using technology that bridges centuries of invention, from the printing press of Gutenberg to modern microprocessors. So, what happens when you print something? It's not just a sheet sliding through a box. It's a carefully choreographed performance. Data becomes instructions. Instructions become mechanical motion. Ink or toner becomes letters and images. Heat locks them in place. And in seconds, you're holding in your hands something that only existed on a screen moments ago. It's everyday magic, powered by science, engineering, and human ingenuity. Now, here's where I leave you with a thought. The next time you hear the hum of your printer, don't just see it as an ordinary machine. See it as a miniature factory, one that translates your ideas into reality one dot at a time. Tell me in the comments what surprised you most about the process. Share your own printer stories, the frustrations, the successes, the unexpected moments. And if you want more journeys into the hidden workings of everyday technology, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Because the story of what happens when you print something is just one example of how the simplest actions in our lives are powered by astonishing systems we rarely notice.